The Journey of Yvon Gustaugh. This is the story of Yvon Gustaugh, who was 12 years old in 1915. He was an Italian immigrant coming from Italy. He traveled to America because his mother was very sick with bronchitis, and he was trying to gather money to pay for her medicine. Yvon and his father, Jack Gustaugh, traveled across the Atlantic Ocean on a sailboat. It was a very rough and dangerous journey of 3 weeks with a bunch of smelly, uncomfortable people crammed into a boat called the San Antonio. The other immigrants were very stingy with the food and would often leave no food for Yvon and Jack. About a month after the voyage began, there was a sickness that started amongst the boat. Being malnourished, Yvon and Jack were the first to become very sick. Sadly, because of the lack of medicine, Jack came to his death because of the sickness, leaving Yvon alone with a boat full of strangers. He became very depressed, and the only thing left in his precious life was his teddy bear. Fortunately, a few weeks later, the boat docked in New York, arriving at Ellis Island. Yvon had to go through a long and painful process of going through Ellis Island in order to make it into America. After almost a whole day of being inspected, he finally made it out and was headed to his future. Without his dad with him, he was all alone in this new world. A fellow immigrant family saw this and decided to take him in as their own. They had a family member that helped rent out apartments in the Bronx, New York, so they went with him and fortunately came across a cheap room. They did not have much money in their world, so they put all the money that they had together as a down payment on the apartment. Buying an apartment meant they had to have an income, so the first thing the family did was go out and search for a job. Luckily, there were several factories around the apartment that were always looking for fresh new souls to fill the spots of the people that were getting injured. The family ended up going to a shoe factory, and there were spots available for their whole family. This job did not come easy, though. They had to wait in line for several hours and almost did not get noticed. They started work that very next day and soon realized what they were getting into. Working conditions in the factory were horrible and dangerous. Also, the boss was very cruel to all the workers. Yvon soon understood how inhumane his boss was when he messed up sewing. He was whipped with a belt when he messed up. Every night going back to the apartment was almost just as bad as working in the factory. They would face 10 flights of stairs just to make it to a very small, overcrowded, smelly apartment that was dirty as well. There were a total of 6 people living in this tiny apartment, and every night the floor was crowded with people sleeping there because there weren't enough beds. They were paying $100 every month for rent, and they each made $1 an hour at the factories. Every day except for Sunday, they would work from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. Eventually, Yvon started to get hurt in the factory, and every day he would come home with a new injury. After about a year of this, Yvon was exhausted, and he never was able to send money back to his mother because of how much the rent costed. In the end, Yvon discovers that America really shouldn't be the dream of immigrants. It has horrible working conditions, and it's hard to make a life there. Yvon realized he would rather be at home with his mother when she dies than away from her. He also would have not lost his father if he never went on this journey. On December 5th, 1918, the death of Yvon was recorded. He was so tired at work and he fell into one of the machines that cut the leather and got mangled and failed to survive. He Was a Good Immigrant Boy by Kyle Jones and Saria Campers.